Question. Forgive me, but I have a difficult question. Recently, a devotee showed me an article about the murder of the devotee Sulocana Pr, and it contains all the details about how it was planned and covered up for over a year. It made me feel especially hurt and scared because one of the devotees mentioned was the husband of one of the nicest persons I met, and who helped me become interested in Krishna consciousness, which no doubt has made my life much healthier and happier than it was pre-Krishna. The article describes this exactly how probably it is, and it freaked me out that I could have spent so much time with someone who has been a part of such an evil crime. The other thing that makes me uneasy is about Radhanath Swami, who is implicated, and there is another article about how he treated one of his disciples very insensitively. I used to practically worship Radhanath Swami, but now I can't understand if I had deceived myself. In one sense, how can he speak so eloquently and have started such amazing projects if he is not empowered by God? I also had trouble believing some things written in Journey Home. Any advice would be appreciated. I understand that these things don't necessarily affect my life directly. I don't see anything corrupt going on in name of a city. Although hearing from other people, I know there were some unethical dealings taking place in that city, the temple in that city, Hare Krishna temple, when I was first becoming inspired by the Hare Krishna movement. There was a time I thought the best path to perfect my life was to get initiation and spend the morning going to Mangal Arati, chanting 16 rounds minimum, going to work, and then spending the evening with devotees and spend the weekend with devotees, and try to put all my attention on kirtan and other processes of devotional service. Now my life has become so busy, and I went through a difficult experience dealing with name of a devotee at the name of a city temple and coming back to that city. I feel slightly out of place, so I've been too far removed from devotee association that I feel totally out of place. Then when I hear about the murder in New Vrindavan, and I question if Radhanath Swami is really a holy person, it makes me confused. But my personal experience was that I never felt as happy or satisfied or devoted to God as when I associated with devotees, especially in kirtan. And there have been so many wonderful experiences when I went to the Polish tour or other big festivals in his city, or just simple home gatherings. These were the best moments of my life, which makes me believe, of course, Krishna consciousness is the best use of my time, or the best, most effective way to purify myself. But I still feel so uneasy about the corruption of the past. Thanks for reading. Please let me know any helpful advice. How did you confront these issues and decided to make your whole career as a Swami? Well, first of all, these are good questions, good for varieties of reasons. One is that many people will face something similar. Now, before I will make 4 points. I will make 4 points in an attempt to address your letter. But before I begin, you will notice that I will not deal with details. I just don't think it is productive, and principles are way more important. Okay, so interesting thing is that you yourself have noticed that you were the happiest when absorbed in Krishna consciousness. What's the lesson there? There's a powerful lesson hidden right there, and I think that is the most important thing in it all. If you could remember that. And the lesson is that we could take from that you could take from it, is that keep that absorption. You said you were never as happy, you were never as God conscious, you were never as inspired, and I forget all the words you used, but all of that is really powerfully telling you to keep that absorption. That is the most important thing. Point one, keep that absorption. Point number two, okay, point number one, keep the absorption, but point number two, institution, and some people may be unhappy with me saying this, but what's an institution? What you're experiencing here is not the problem necessarily with the institution, but with what is an institution? Institution is an organization made by and staffed by the people. And people are morally imperfect, if not even seriously deficient. People are spiritually imperfect. And you yourself are very likely morally and spiritually imperfect. In Krishna Consciousness, we actually look for our imperfections so we can work on them. So institution is staffed by people. Most people are morally or spiritually imperfect, if not deficient. So within an institution, you can expect all kinds of things. Why? Because you can expect all kinds of things from people. Now, what to do then? Participate in the institution, or any institution. I really don't want to be brought down into the land of infinite details. But when dealing with institution, namely dealing with people, deal with that institution, participate in that institution to the extent it is good, to the extent it is productive, to the extent it is productive spiritually, to the extent an aspect of an institution, an aspect of a person, an aspect of a situation is not productive, it is, let's say, destructive, to that extent you move away from it. This is even your spiritual and moral duty, to not participate in anything in an unhealthy way. We all have personal responsibility to be the protagonist of the good. So in Krishna Consciousness, if we're thinking of Krishna Conscious institution, we participate in the institution to the extent of goodness. The moment it is not good, the moment it is bad or evil, whatever terms you want to use, not productive, destructive, etc., you stay away from it. That's it. I personally, I think I'm mature enough to never expect from any institution absolute goodness. Maybe one more note in regards to the institution, especially institution in Krishna Consciousness. Institution, as much problems that it can bring way more goodness, and you yourself have experienced that. Think of the absorption, the goodness, the spiritual inspiration, the nourishment you experience. You experience that within the institution. Why? Because that institution was also staffed by fantastic people, by Krishna conscious fantastically people. So seek such people, such situations, and you yourself be the protagonist of that which is good. And that which is not good, if it's within your domain of influence, take care of it. And if it's not within your domain of influence, just let the river of time wash it off. Now, third point, don't be quick to judge. Don't be quick to judge. Moral reasoning is a very, very complex process. And unfortunately, too great number of people, too many people, don't have either the patience or the interest or enough integrity, moral integrity, spiritual integrity, compassion, etc., etc., to engage in quality moral reasoning. And so what people typically do is they go for cheap rewards. Cheap rewards in the sense that they they only peripherally examine a situation, draw a moral conclusion, and feel great about themselves. Feel great about themselves. There's a term for it. Let me see if I wrote it somewhere. No, I didn't. There's a technical term for it, that phenomena. So don't be quick to judge. If you want to morally characterize someone or something, first, in order for that judgment to be good, you have to do some quality moral reasoning, which means you have to know so much. You have to know about the person, you have to know about the moment, you have to know about the reasons for which the person did or didn't do a thing, and you have to interview that person and interview a whole lot of other people. There's so much that one needs to take into consideration before one can morally judge. So in this case, you're mentioning Radhanath Swami, etc., etc. You merely read an article somewhere. Please forgive me, but that's a really, really bad case of moral reasoning. Good moral reasoning is thorough. Thorough moral reasoning takes time. My notes turned off. Moral reasoning, good moral reasoning, takes time and takes effort. The easiest thing is to pass a judgment. As the saying goes, thinking is hard, so I judge. So I'm not sure if you're making that mistake. I kind of have a feeling that to some extent you might be. And if this is relevant to you, I hope you can benefit from it. To answer your question, why did I commit to the institution, and by becoming a Swami, sannyasi in it? Well, I've been a monk in International Society for Krishna Consciousness since the age of 20, and I'm 45 now, almost 45. So monastic lifestyle is something that suits me, and being a monk, being a sannyasi, is a position from which I personally feel can contribute to the betterment of the world in the best possible way. Yeah, that's brief, but I think it's good enough. Okay, almost 15 minutes long video. Thank you for trusting me with the question, and I hope the answers are of use to you. Hare Krishna.